Zuck Bucks. That is what some legislators call the large infusions of private funding going into elections. As of right now, 25 state legislatures have enacted legislation to restrict that practice. Joining me now to discuss those concerns is president of the Washington, D.C.-based think tank Capital Research Center, Scott Walter. Scott, welcome to the National Desk.
Great to be here.
So what exactly is this so-called Zuck Buck? Where'd all that come from?
Well, it takes its name from Mark Zuckerberg, the big tech billionaire. He and his wife have billions of dollars in a charity called the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. And they instructed that charity to send about $400 million to two other charities. And then those two charities doled the money out to government election offices at the state and local levels in almost every state.
Well, so if you've got Mark Zuckerberg putting huge amounts of money to the tune of, as you say, $400 million into local elections all around the country, from what I understand, that doesn't violate any campaign finance laws. So what's wrong with an individual supporting causes, or in this case, candidates he or she believe in?
Well, of course, he would not admit that he was supporting candidates. The idea, the fig leaf over this is that, well, we were just helping election offices run their elections. But there's multiple problems with that. The first is those two charities that got the $400 million and handed it out. Those are run by highly partisan people who came from political operations that nobody pretends were anything other than pro-Democrat groups. And then you also have the problem of how the money was distributed. In my home state of Virginia, for instance, 90% of the money went to Democratic jurisdictions. And the Capital Research Center, we've studied the way the money flowed in all of the battleground states. And in every one of those, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, the money skewed very disproportionately to Democratic jurisdictions. So they weren't helping everybody vote. They were especially helping Democratic jurisdictions vote. And it's not illegal for the election offices to have taken the money, but it is illegal for a charity to try to get involved in that kind of skewing of election results.
Well, and because there's nothing then, if that is the case, there's nothing to say that Republican supportive groups couldn't be doing the exact same thing to help Republican causes or candidates also, right? So if these laws are potentially going to be changed, how would that affect the system?
Well, exactly. I've testified in several state legislatures on this, and what I typically explain is any billionaire could do this. There are right-wing billionaires and left-wing billionaires. And by the way, you don't even have to be an American citizen to do this. You could have an oligarch from Russia doing it, or a Chinese communist princeling. So nobody wants that. And in my home state of Virginia, when the Senate committee looked at this in the state legislature, it was unanimous. All the Democrats and the Republicans voted for a law to prevent this kind of private funding of government election offices.
So in the end here, Scott, where's the line for when donations are considered more than just above board, when they're called influence peddling?
Well, I think, again, the answer is, we have rules for our elections, and the rules need to be followed. A political party obviously can try to boost the votes in places where they have predominance. But what you can't do is have charities that are supposed to always be nonpartisan get involved in juicing turnout in particular parties' jurisdictions.
All right, Scott Walter, thank you so much for joining us here on the National Desk.
Great to be here.
Ahead